Maria's hands trembled as she gripped the mop handle, watching the elderly woman hurl her breakfast tray across the hallway. Oatmeal splattered against the freshly painted walls. Orange juice pooled on the floor she'd cleaned just an hour ago, and the plastic cup bounced twice before settling near her worn sneakers. This was the third time this week. The other staff members had already given up, marking Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore's room with an invisible warning, "Enter at your own risk." But Maria couldn't walk away. She'd seen that look before, the fury masking fear, the anger hiding loneliness in her own grandmother's eyes during those final, difficult years. "I don't want your help. I don't want anyone's help!" Eleanor's voice cracked like thunder through the corridor of Riverside Manor, the assisted living facility where Maria had worked as a janitor for the past 3 years. Maria bent down slowly, her knees protesting after 8 hours on her feet, and began wiping up the mess. She didn't speak. She'd learned that sometimes silence was the kindest response, that words could feel like weapons when someone was drowning in their own pain. "Are you deaf?" "I said leave," Eleanor shouted from her doorway. Her white hair wild around her face, her designer nightgown, probably worth more than Maria's monthly rent, stained and wrinkled. "I hear you, Mrs. Whitmore," Maria said softly, wringing out the mop. "But this floor's pretty slippery now. Someone might fall. Just let me finish and I'll be out of your way." Eleanor's pale blue eyes narrowed, studying this woman who refused to be driven away. Most of the nurses avoided her room unless absolutely necessary. The previous janitor had requested a schedule change to avoid her floor entirely. But this one, this quiet woman with tired eyes and gentle hands, kept coming back, day after day, no matter how much abuse Eleanor threw her way. Maria finished cleaning and pushed her cart toward the next room, but she paused at Eleanor's door. "I brought you something," she said, reaching into her pocket. She pulled out a small, worn photograph, protected by a plastic sleeve. "This is my abuela, my grandmother. She used to get so angry, too, near the end. But she wasn't really angry at us. She was angry at getting old, at losing her independence, at feeling invisible." Eleanor snatched the photo, ready to tear it or throw it back, but something stopped her. The old woman in the picture had kind eyes, even though you could see the confusion in them, the frustration of a sharp mind trapped in a failing body. "Your grandmother?" Eleanor's voice had lost some of its edge. "See, I took care of her for 2 years before she passed. She taught me that anger is just love with nowhere to go." Maria gently took the photo back. "I'll be back tomorrow, Mrs. Whitmore, same time." And she was. Every single day, Maria arrived at Eleanor's room at 9:30 in the morning, just after breakfast. Some days Eleanor threw things. Other days, she pretended Maria didn't exist, staring out the window at the garden below, her silence more cutting than her words. But Maria kept coming, kept cleaning, kept leaving small tokens of kindness. A flower from the garden, a crossword puzzle from the newspaper, a butterscotch, candy that Eleanor would later find on her nightstand and pretend she hadn't eaten. Weeks turned into months. The other staff members whispered about Maria's patience, calling her a saint or a fool, depending on who you asked. But Maria didn't think of herself as either. She was simply a woman who understood that sometimes the people who are hardest to love are the ones who need it most. "Why do you keep coming back?" Eleanor finally asked one morning, her voice barely above a whisper. It was the first real question she'd asked Maria in 3 months. Maria paused in her dusting, considering her answer carefully. "Because you remind me of the person I hope someone will be kind to when I'm old and scared and angry at the world." Something shifted in Eleanor's face, a crack in the armor she'd built around herself. "I wasn't always like this," she said, looking down at her hands, once elegant and now marked by age spots and arthritis. "I used to be someone. I ran a company. I made decisions that affected hundreds of people. And now I can't even button my own sweater without help." "You're still someone, Mrs. Whitmore. You're still you." "Am I?" Eleanor's laugh was bitter. "My daughter hasn't visited in 6 months. My friends are all dead or in places like this. The world moved on without me, and nobody even noticed." Maria sat down in the chair across from Eleanor, something she'd never dared to do before. "Your daughter, why doesn't she visit?" Eleanor's jaw tightened. "Because I drove her away. I was so busy building my empire that I forgot to build a relationship with my own child. I missed her school plays, her graduations, her wedding. I sent checks instead of showing up. And now that I'm here, now that I finally have nothing but time, she has no time for me. Poetic justice, isn't it? It's not too late, Maria said. Don't be naive. Some things can't be fixed. But Maria had planted a seed, and in the days that followed, she gently watered it. She told Eleanor stories about her own children, about the arguments they'd had, the mistakes she'd made, the forgiveness they'd offered each other. She talked about her son who was studying to be a nurse, about her daughter who wanted to be a teacher, about how she worked 2 jobs to help them achieve dreams she'd never had the chance to pursue. You must be exhausted, Eleanor said one morning, noticing the dark circles under Maria's eyes. Worth it, Maria smiled. They're my everything. Eleanor was quiet for a long moment. I don't even know my grandchildren's names, she admitted. Catherine, my daughter, she stopped sending photos years ago. I have 3 grandchildren, and I couldn't pick them out of a lineup. Maybe it's time to change that. How? I can't even work my phone properly. These buttons are too small, and I shake too much to type. Maria's face lit up. I can help you with that. Let me show you. And so began a new chapter in their unlikely friendship. Maria spent her lunch breaks teaching Eleanor how to use her smartphone, how to send texts, how to video call. They practiced on Maria's phone first, calling Maria's daughter so Eleanor could learn without the pressure of reaching out to her own estranged child. What if she doesn't answer? Eleanor asked, her finger hovering over Catherine's contact information after weeks of practice. Then you try again tomorrow, Maria said simply. Love is patient, remember? Eleanor made the call. It went to voicemail. She tried not to show her disappointment, but Maria saw it anyway. The next day, Eleanor tried again, and the day after that. On the 5th attempt, someone answered. Mother? Catherine's voice was cautious, surprised. Eleanor's hands shook so badly that Maria had to help her hold the phone steady. Catherine, I just wanted to hear your voice. The conversation was brief and awkward, but it was a beginning. Catherine promised to think about visiting. Eleanor thanked her and ended the call before her daughter could hear her crying. She said, maybe? Eleanor told Maria, wiping her eyes. That's more than I deserve. It's a start, Maria encouraged. Now we wait, and we hope, and we prepare. When she comes, you need to show her that you've changed, that you're ready to be the mother she needed. Over the next few weeks, something remarkable happened. Eleanor began participating in the facility's activities. She joined the book club, started eating in the dining room instead of demanding meals in her room, and even apologized to several staff members for her previous behavior. Maria watched with quiet pride as the woman everyone had written off as a bitter, impossible case slowly bloomed back to life. But Maria never told anyone that she was working 3 jobs now, her position at Riverside Manor, night shifts at a grocery store, and weekend cleaning for a church. Her daughter's college tuition was due, and her son needed new textbooks. The exhaustion was catching up with her, but she couldn't let her children down. She couldn't let Eleanor down either, not now. Not when the woman was finally finding her way back to herself. It was a Tuesday morning when everything changed. Maria arrived at her usual time, but Eleanor's room was empty. Panic seized her chest until she saw the note. In the garden. Please join me. Maria found Eleanor sitting on a bench, dressed in a beautiful blue suit that Maria had never seen her wear, her hair professionally styled, her makeup carefully applied, and beside her sat a woman in her 50s with Eleanor's same blue eyes and determined jaw. Maria! Eleanor stood, her voice steady and strong. I'd like you to meet my daughter, Catherine. Catherine, this is Maria Rodriguez, the woman who saved my life. Maria started to protest, to deflect the praise. But Catherine was already walking toward her, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, Catherine said, pulling Maria into an unexpected embrace. Thank you for not giving up on her when everyone else did. Thank you for showing her that it's never too late to change. I didn't do anything special, Maria said, uncomfortable with the attention. I just treated her like a person. Exactly, Catherine said. When I got her calls, I didn't believe it at first. I thought maybe she was calling by accident, or that she wanted something from me. But she kept calling. And then the staff here told me about you, about how you'd been helping her, teaching her. believing in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Eleanor joined them, taking Maria's hand. I called Catherine last week and asked her to come. Today, because I wanted you both here. Maria, I found out something yesterday that I need to tell you. Maria's heart sank. Was Eleanor sick? Had her condition worsened? Catherine stepped forward, and for the first time, Maria noticed the professional portfolio she was carrying, the confident way she held herself, the expensive watch on her wrist. Maria, I need to tell you something too, Catherine said. My name is Catherine Whitmore Hayes. I'm the CEO of Hayes Properties Group. And 3 months ago, my company acquired Riverside Manor as part of our expansion into senior care facilities. Maria's mind reeled. Catherine owned the building? She was Maria's ultimate boss? I came to tour the facility yesterday, Catherine continued. I wanted to see where my mother was living, to make sure the standards of care were acceptable. And do you know what I found? I found staff members who told me about a janitor who worked miracles, a woman who never clocked out, who spent her lunch breaks with difficult residents, who brought fresh flowers from her own garden because the facility's budget didn't allow for them. I also found out, Eleanor interjected, her voice thick with emotion, that you've been working 3 jobs, that you've been sacrificing your own health, your own sleep, to help your children through school, that you've been buying small gifts for residents like me out of your own poverty-level wages. Maria felt heat flood her face. It's nothing, it's everything, Catherine interrupted. And it needs to stop. Not the kindness, never the kindness, but the struggle, the exhaustion, the working yourself to death while you make other people's lives better. Catherine opened her portfolio and pulled out several documents. Maria Rodriguez, effective immediately. I'm promoting you to Director of Resident Relations for Riverside Manor. Your salary will be $120,000 annually with full benefits, including a college scholarship fund for your children. Your job will be to do exactly what you've been doing, building relationships with our residents, training our staff in compassionate care, and making this place a home instead of just a facility. Maria couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The number Catherine had said was more than she made in 3 years at her current jobs combined. I don't understand. I'm just a janitor. I don't have a degree or training or... You have something better, Eleanor said firmly. You have a heart that sees people, truly sees them, even when they're at their worst. You have the patience to love the unlovable and the wisdom to know that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply show up, day after day, with kindness in your hands. My mother told me something yesterday, Catherine added, her voice breaking slightly. She said that for 3 months you taught her how to be human again. You didn't lecture her or pity her or give up on her. You just loved her, consistently and unconditionally, until she remembered how to love herself. And then you taught her how to reach out to me, how to be a mother, even though it was 30 years too late. Eleanor squeezed Maria's hand. You gave me back my daughter. You gave me back my life. This isn't charity. Maria, this is you finally receiving a fraction of what you deserve. Maria looked at these 2 women, one who had been angry and alone, one who had been estranged and hurting, and saw them standing together, healed, whole, because somehow, in the middle of her own struggle, she'd helped build a bridge between them. The tears came then, hot and unstoppable. Maria thought of her children, how she could finally afford to pay their tuition without working nights. She thought of her own mother back in Mexico, whom she hadn't been able to visit in 5 years because she couldn't afford the trip. She thought of all the early mornings and late nights, the aching feet and tired bones, and how it had all led to this impossible, beautiful moment. I don't know what to say, Maria whispered. Say yes, Eleanor urged. Say yes and then teach everyone here what you taught me. The dignity isn't lost when our bodies fail, that love can heal even the deepest wounds, and that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. Maria looked at Catherine, then back at Eleanor, and saw not just her past and present, but her future, a future where she didn't have to choose between taking care of others and taking care of herself, where her kindness was valued and rewarded, where her own dreams mattered as much as everyone else's. Yes, she said, her voice growing stronger. Yes, I'll do it. Catherine pulled out one more document, a check. This is 6 months of your new salary paid in advance. Consider it back pay for all the invisible work you've been doing. Go visit your mother in Mexico. Bring your children. Take the time to rest and heal and prepare for this new chapter. As the three women stood in the garden, surrounded by the flowers Maria had so carefully tended, something shifted in the air. It was the feeling of the universe realigning itself, of goodness finally being rewarded, of love multiplying instead of diminishing. That evening, when Maria told her children about her promotion, her son cried and her daughter laughed, and they all held each other in their tiny apartment, feeling like the richest people in the world. And the next morning, when Maria arrived at Riverside Manor for her first day as Director of Resident Relations, she found Eleanor waiting for her in the lobby, dressed and ready for breakfast, eager to introduce Maria to the other residents who needed someone to see them, to value them, to remind them that they still mattered. "Ready to change some more lives?" Eleanor asked with a smile that looked nothing like the angry woman Maria had first met. Maria smiled back, thinking of all the lonely people in the world who just needed one person to refuse to give up on them, one person to show them consistent kindness until they remembered their own worth. "Always," she said. "I'm always ready, because that's what love does. It shows up, day after day, expecting nothing and giving everything, until the impossible becomes possible and broken things become whole again. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the universe notices your quiet acts of heroism and rewards them in ways you never dared to dream."